4 skills that you won't learn in school. Now, trust me, I understand that they're doing a lot better to make sure that students are learning different skills outside of the normal curriculum, because guess what? I'm actually the one that's doing it in some of the schools. But I know on a larger scale, we want to start making a bigger difference. And so I want to be able to do this even in your schools or in your educational environment. And so if you find that this video is very helpful, make sure that you check me out, because we can start making this happen in your schools too. So let's get to it. 4 skills that we need to start teaching our youth. Number 1, critical thinking. Yes, you might think to yourself, well, everyone is taught to think. Not necessarily. In fact, in many different schools, in many different districts, and how we typically teach students is learning to memorize information. Memorization is not critical thinking. And in fact, that was one of the things that used to get me in trouble so much, was asking the greatest question you could ever ask anybody. And that question is, why? Why does this happen? Why do we have to think this way? Why do we do things this way? Why do we challenge the status quo? I love when students ask me questions and challenge me by asking the question why. Because it allows me 2 things. It allows me the opportunity first to be able to actually defend my point properly in a way that makes sense to them. And it also allows them the opportunity for them to think for themselves. If they don't want to believe it, that's up to them. But ultimately, they can come up with questions and comments, and we can have dialogue and discourse. My wife was telling me about her not public school, but her school that she went to in high school. And she loved it because a lot of her classes were focused on discussion, debates. They read books speaking on Socrates. They read the Iliad. They would really dug through to make sure that critical thinking was at the forefront of everything that they did. Now, again, this was a private school, so it wasn't public school education. But if we can really start making sure that kids are thinking critically for themselves, this is a great thing for them and a great way for them to think, to build up their confidence, build up their notion of the world, and also be able to really start reading more as well. Because when you start reading more and really thinking about why they have to read, it helps them to be able to support the positions that they have. Number 2, financial literacy. Oh my goodness, man. We were never taught how to take care of our finances. Yeah, we may have been taught like, what are taxes, or what is money, how to, not necessarily how to save, but that we should save, or whatever the case may be. But no one's taught to invest. No one's taught how much money they should be putting in for their retirement funds. No one's taught to understand the stock market and understanding bonds and all these different concepts that help us to grow exponentially in the financial world. Everyone is taught how to become an employee. But as we know it right now, employees are, as much as everyone wants to say no, the middle class is not dead yet, it's pretty much done, right? But if we're able to teach financial literacy, understanding the investment world, understanding how to become an entrepreneur, right, I think it helps the students to have a different viewpoint of the world around them. Because many times they're taught certain things, and especially the same paradigm shift that we've been, us as millennials, we were lied to, but that paradigm shift didn't help so many of us. And so it's very important for us to be able to make sure that this generation, I have, for instance, discussions in small groups about making sure that they understand finances in a certain way. I don't give financial advice, but the overall terms, the terminologies, the understandings behind it, all these concepts can ultimately help a student understand so much more about the world financially and how to build a better life through that. And I would just say start small. Understand stocks, bonds, mutual funds, how to invest, what to invest in. Understanding, for instance, the differences between cryptocurrencies, investing in the stock market, or investing in real estate. All of those are great for these kids to start learning today. They don't have to wait until they're 18 or 25 or 30, right? Give them the understandings now. Number 3, probably my most important, if not, I think the most important of all, is emotional intelligence. And I know, for instance, right now, there's a lot that's being, used to try to get people to understand, like for instance, social and emotional learning. So those are in schools a lot more these days. However, I really think that a deeper understanding of their emotional quotient or their emotional intelligence needs to be within the very curriculum of our schooling. And for instance, right now, I'm pushing for empathetic education. I have a program and a consultation that allows for schools to understand how their empathy can absolutely make a massive shift in their school climate, not just for those kids, but for teachers, and to bridge the gap between educators and parents of the community. And so I think it's very important, for instance, that we build up this empathetic education that allows kids to not only understand their own emotions, but to be able to understand the emotions of others. And so this is very crucial. That's why I've built out this radical empathy, and it helps kids to be able to really build up the strong bonds, respect for themselves, for their peers, for all those in the classroom, in the building, ultimately to make this a space where everyone is valued, welcomed, and they have what you call educational excellency, where everyone is able to work together to support each other and grow as best as possible in this space. And so emotional intelligence is massive. I think this is something that can help the children, the youth, understand how to get in control of their feelings, build up that mental resilience so that they can become the most efficient and best adult. Because again, they're only youth for 18 years. And then they have about another 50 or so years as adults. So let's build up these kids to be the best adults that they can be. And emotional intelligence, and trust me, you know those adults who don't have any sort of emotional intelligence. And they may be smart, they may be great, they may be even have great book knowledge. But when they don't know their emotions, they don't know how to control themselves, we know how that can be so drastic and can massively make a big difference negatively for our community. And so imagine how positive it could be if we have a generation of young children and youth understanding their emotions and also being able to understand the emotions of others. Number 4, last but not least, adaptability. Oh my goodness. Like, I'm working with my child on this right now. It's just being able to be flexible. When something bad happens, it's okay. Let's work through it and be better and work no matter what the circumstance is. We have that mental resilience to work through changes. Like for instance, myself, I would say I love change and everything of the sort. And sometimes I have to come to the conclusion that I also don't always love change. But we have to be willing to adapt when things are necessary. You're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone regularly. I mean, when we look at the greatest people in the world, they never were okay sitting, living in their comfort zone. We have to be willing to adapt, push ourselves, build that mindfulness, vision, see greater for ourselves. But in that, adaptability is going to be massive in how we're able to work with these youth and work with these kids to see greater for themselves. And when they're able to be flexible on, this happened, but that's okay. I build through that, I push through it. I'm resilient, I'm strong, not just physically, but mentally. This helps them in so many different aspects. And so we could start really pushing that out there in our educational system, build that adaptability. Parents, when you're working with your kids, you're able to really build that adaptability. This is something that will help them so much more down the line. If you're a youth listening to this right now, man, take the time to build that mental resilience. Be adaptable. When things happen, you don't just crumble and fall. One of my favorite quotes of all time is the righteous man is not the one who falls and stays down, but it's the one who gets up 8 times when they fall down 7. And guess what? That means that we are all going to fall. Every single one of us are going to fall. But it's not about the fall. It's about what happens after the fall. Do you choose to get up or do you choose to stay down? And a lot of people in life, they choose to stay down. And what I want you guys to start thinking of is, how do I find a way to get up when situations happen to me that can absolutely derail me, but I'm not willing for it to destroy me? So there you have it, 4 skills that I think could be absolutely transformative in the life of a youth. We're talking about critical thinking, talking about financial literacy, the emotional intelligence, and also the ability for you to be adaptable. And if you want me to come to your schools and be able to speak and reach these children, it's something that I love to do all the time. And if you think that there is something that can be helpful for your organizations, your schools, your workplace, to build up on some more empathetic education to really make a massive difference in your environment, reach out to me, book me to come in, because I'm telling you right now, this is my passion to start making sure that the climates, the environments that we're in can be absolutely transformed to build a stronger, more positive future for our youth and for us today. If you found this video helpful, make sure to keep that thumbs up, share it with someone, and let's continue to speak up to make a big difference for our youth and younger generations. See you later.